right, here we go on another busy Thursday in downtown Erie. It is beautiful weather on this Thursday evening and a very early happy Easter to all of you, everyone. Welcome inside the beautiful UPick6 Tap House downtown for another edition of the UKnighted podcast, bringing you everything Gannon Athletics, whether it be from the student athletes, the coaches, administration, or the faculty that make all of this possible from our athletic programs each and every single day. It has been a wonderful first 7 weeks. We're already in our 8th episode of the season, if you can hardly believe it, and the spring calendar is counting its way down. We are nearly now through April, and when we get into May, it means spring sports playoffs. And so in the next couple of weeks, it's ever so crucial for so many of our athletic teams to try to pick up those last few week wins and push their way towards the playoff. We're going to be talking to a couple of them today, have a couple of great interviews and conversations lined up for you. And of course, we'll continue to talk about Day of Giving, as that is now just 1 week away. And in just a few minutes as well, we'll give you some information on both a live stream we'll be doing on the Day of Giving on April 25th, as well as an extended podcast here inside this very building coming up next week. So make sure to stay tuned. We got so much happening around Day of Giving and the excitement that is Gannon Athletics at this time of year. Let's go ahead and show you what we got going on for our show today in case you missed that graphic just a couple of minutes ago. In just a couple of minutes, we've got DJ Cannon and student-athlete Ryan Hood, starting pitcher, joining us for the baseball team, who are continuing their stretch in pursuit of a PSAC playoff berth in the last couple of weeks of the season. Senior Day, of course, coming up next week as well. They'll be the one home game coming up in this Easter weekend at McConnell Family Stadium. We'll get to what's on top of it later in the show. Michelle Wiley and a student athlete from softball were set to join us live, but Mother Nature had different plans. And of course, softball today playing a, quote, road game, although this road game is at McConnell Family Stadium. They're right now in the midst of a doubleheader with Edinburgh, a doubleheader that just finished a couple of minutes ago. So they will be joining us virtually with a taped interview coming up a little bit later as well. And a really cool story from Natalia Malazzi, the student athlete, who will join us in just a few minutes. So make sure to stay tuned from that. Of course, we'll talk about Day of Giving preview, show you what's on tap for the weekend. Really great list for our top 5 plays of the week. We'll highlight our student athletes of the week as well. And that thing that you love down at the bottom, dish of the day. We're going to get to that in just a couple of moments' time. So much to get to, only an hour to get to it, so let's not waste any time. It's time now for our dish of the day to start things off on this Thursday here at the UPick6 Tap House. For the dish of the day, then something that you can just munch on night in, night out. Whether the weather's warm, whether the weather's cold, you can eat the Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos for really breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It is a great dish, delectable, a little bit of heat and kick to it. But what better than tacos and seafood, a combination that has paired well for generations, and it does well so here at the UPick6 Tap House. You can get this item tonight from now until 10 p.m. for $2 off. If you stop by the UPick6 Tap House anytime between now and 10 o'clock, our dish of the day, the Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos, are $2 off. And again, a reminder, every single week, we have our dish of the day here in conjunction with both Gannon University and the UPick6 Tap House. Every single Thursday, we feature a different dish that UPick6 Tap House has on their wonderful menu. Make sure to stop by, get it today. $2 off is our dish of the day, the Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos here at the UPick6 Tap House. And again, it is packed here downtown. The weather is wonderful. We've been talking about the temperatures finally getting back into the 50s, maybe 60s. It's going to be nice tomorrow. Hopefully nice for the weekend as well for your Easter festivities, along with the baseball doubleheader that will commence on Saturday as well. We're going to get to baseball in just a couple of minutes. In fact, this is actually perfect. They're bringing out the Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos right now. So here's a look at what you can get for $2 off tonight. I'm going to eat these as soon as the show's over, or heck, maybe when the softball interview is playing. You get 3 of these. They're a beauty. They're great to eat, easy to eat, and they get a little bit of a kick to them as well. So make sure to get those Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos. Again, $2 off today at the UPick6 Tap House from now until 10 o'clock. All right, as we have been talking about in the last couple of weeks, we are just now 1 week away from our Gannon University Centennial Celebrate Day of Giving, happening starting 8 o'clock on Thursday, April 24th, and running till 8 p.m. on Friday, April 25th. This is going to be a very exciting day where you have a chance to give back and benefit so many Gannon athletic programs in the university as a whole. But don't take my word for it. Take the student athlete's word for it. Here are a couple of teams that really appreciate and can continue to use your support as we get ready for Day of
Gannon
Giving.
baseball program has given me so much opportunity to get out here and be a student athlete and really showcase my skills, as well as have a great time in the classroom and have a lot of support behind me from both coaches and awesome teammates.
You'll see it all the time here when we come out for the games, the people that come around here in the community, not just on the field to support us, but just helping us with our Day of Giving. It is a tremendous help to all of us.
The last 3 years here at Gannon have been amazing for me. As being an international student, I also grew up as a person. I learned a lot about the culture here in the United States, and especially since I'm in the women's soccer team, my teammates have helped me a lot in the last 3 years. And I love the way that all my teammates try to support us, especially at practice.
For the past few years, our team has gotten continuously better with breaking records, going further NCAA tournament, and we've been able to do that because of the community support, whether it's from the administration here at Gannon or the donors in the community, and just having our fans from around the community as well helping support us. It's helped us become even better and push us further as a team.
All right, Day of Giving again happening April 24th through 25th. And tonight, we are very pleased to announce, as we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, that on Friday the 25th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. will be a Day of Giving live stream from Gannon Athletics. We'll be in the Recreation and Wellness Center Fieldhouse all day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I'll host along with several of our student athletes and coaches. There'll be Gannon trivia and fun facts. There is a dunk tank. If teams reach their goal, you get to dunk the coach. That's right. We're excited for that as well. I'm sure our next guest is going to be excited for that too, as all the coaches are going to be. But make sure to join us on all of our platforms. Think of this as an extended podcast, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. All the social media channels and YouTube will be live for our Gannon Day of Giving live stream Friday, April 25th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. One of the coaches that we're hoping to dunk this guy right here. His hair doesn't have to worry about it. His hair is already perfect no matter what. But DJ Cannon and redshirt sophomore pitcher Ryan Hood joining us on the podcast as baseball continues their season in what has been an exciting year and hopefully now some great weather ahead. First of all, guys, thanks so much for joining me. This is, I feel like, the one off day that you get in what's been about a month or so straight of practice and games. What's that like to have a day like today, but you're not playing baseball?
Yeah, honestly, it's a little bit depressing seeing how much sunshine we got outside. It feels like lately the nicer days end up being the days that we don't have games scheduled, right, or it just for one reason or another doesn't work out. And on the game days, we're kind of dodging raindrops and everything else.
How do you as a head coach, and I guess you can answer this question too, Ryan, as a team, how do you maneuver with the weather, with the elements of Erie weather? I mean, I've asked, women's lacrosse, all the sports that play outdoors. Erie is not a kind city when it comes to spring sports. What is the key to maneuvering things, changing your schedule? How do you just adapt to that, both as a coach and a student athlete? And Coach, we'll start with you. Just the key when you have games that are getting postponed and moved day in, day out.
Yeah, I guess one thing that we're fortunate, our field being an all-turf field helps a lot, where allows us to do a lot of things, whether it's practices, games, that hopefully mitigates some of that change that we have to make. And a lot of teams in our conference end up having at least a turf infield, so right, kind of helps with that whole process. But it really just comes down to trying to be as flexible as possible, trying to kind of roll with the punches when you have to. And I think we just try on our end to communicate with the guys as much as we can to give them a heads up if things might be changing or what the weather might be coming up for that week, just so they can be a little bit more prepared if they're going to have to adjust classes and things like that as we make changes.
Ryan, how difficult are you used to it by now and whatnot? At what point did you start getting used to the fact that your classes were going to probably be maneuvered around based on games and rain delays and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, this second semester so far has been pretty wild with classes, I'd say. But going off the weather, I mean, I do think that it can be an advantage sometimes playing other teams like that. I mean, when you see guys coming out of our bullpen wearing no sleeves when it's 30, 40 degrees out.
I think you guys wear no sleeves regardless.
Yeah,
that's a common practice rule, correct?
Yeah, but when other teams see that, I feel like it has to show something to them that, like, we're here to play. doesn't really bother us as much as it does other teams.
Well, hopefully this weather continues to get better and better as we get around throughout the season. And a couple of weeks left in the season. Of course, you guys are fighting for a spot in the PSACU tournament. But I want to just kind of take the last 2 years as a microcosm, Coach. And, you told me before the year, last season was one where you had so many games that you were close in, right? And it seemed like most every game that you played or every other game you played was down to the wire, a one-run game going into the 7th or for a doubleheader or the 9th inning. Take me through some of the things that maybe you've liked or improvement areas that you've seen this season and whatnot. You've already gotten 3 more than your win total from last year, and you're looking to continue that trend as we move through the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of those same situations again this year where we've lost, I think, 9 of our games in the opponent's last at-bats. So, again, just right on the cusp. Trying to kind of find a way to end up on the right end of those type of games. But I think the biggest change is just giving ourselves a chance in the majority of the games that we're in. Like we haven't had really any games that we haven't had a chance 5th, 6th, 7th inning as we go. And a couple bounces here or there could change a lot of the results that we've had so far. And just seeing the competitiveness that we're putting out there, pitching, defense, offense, all giving us a chance week in and week out. And really that's all you can ask for is just be in every game and have a chance to win it. And as we've gone throughout the season, just kind of learning it and finding ways to fill those gaps to make sure that we end up on the right end of it.
Ryan, what are some of the things that, from last year to this year, you've seen that you think can, because again, you still have games left to go. Mm-hmm. What are some of those little things, the intangibles that you think can get you guys to a point where you are winning the majority, if not all of those close games? And what does that look like from a player and a student athlete perspective?
So what I've seen, I really didn't get to play that much at all last year. I had a few series towards the end of the year, but off the field, I do think it makes a big difference. We have guys who really do care about this team and want to see us win. And I think that's a big difference between this year and last year. We had a lot of those games last year too, and we lost a lot of those. And I think this year we just have like a extra drive or sort of something like that pushes us to get those wins. And I think that will help us in the future. And I don't know, it's just good to see guys actually care about the team and want to win games like that.
And I was going to say, you are one of many players who the name to the right in terms of your classification is freshman or sophomore. You have a ton of young talent on your team, DJ. You were talking about that. It's a process. You get these guys recruited, and then you just start to try to grind away with them day by day, piece by piece. What has that process been like in trying to incorporate what knew, what you grew up around, your coaching tactics around this young team and how they've responded to that? Because the majority of your lineup, you look 1 through 9, it's a lot of freshmen, sophomores.
Yeah. I think it's been obviously some ups and downs over the last 2 years with this group, with the wins and losses. But I think the positive is really seeing those changes kind of take hold and see guys grow into different roles and kind of jump on opportunities that like whether they expected those opportunities to be there or not. Just kind of seeing guys kind of take those learning experiences and make adjustments as they've gone, and just kind of like what Ryan was talking about, just kind of putting their passion for the team and each other into things, and trying to spark that into building this program and the culture so that things can turn.
Obviously, we're going to talk about offense, defense, but I'm sandwiched in between 2 pitchers, so I think it's only appropriate that we talk about the success on the mound. And Hoodie, I'll start with you. Maybe it's the mustache. I don't know. You said you've been growing it since the start of the year.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Do you have the best mustache on the team?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Who's your competition? Do you have any competition?
One of my buddies, Brendan Caroli, tries to grow one, but I tell you, it's not that great.
What is the key to maintaining a good mustache? I'm curious. We're going off on a tangent here, but it's okay. It's our podcast. We can do that. What's the key to growing a good mustache?
I'd say good sleep, a lot of vegetables. I don't really know what else.
That's a good answer. That's a perfectly fair answer.
Good genetics.
All right,
yeah,
I'll take that. I'm jealous, by the way. I can't myself grow one, but you come into this weekend and a couple of home games coming up this weekend. We'll get to those in a second with Seton Hill tomorrow and then Saturday in a 4-game stretch. You've got an under 3 ERA. You've become now the de facto #1 pitcher in game one of doubleheaders and whatnot for this team. What has worked for you so well this season? And like you admitted yourself, last year didn't get a ton of playing time. This year you come in and you've really taken control of the mound. What has worked for you in your jump from last year to this season?
I'd say it's just getting my confidence back and having a feel for my pitches again. Not being able to play and get out there and actually throw my stuff it's taxing on your head with your pitches. I mean, so in the summer, I was able to get out there and kind of see what I could do again. And just being able to be out there and feel like I'm comfortable out there has definitely helped me a lot. And with my injury, my pitches were all different whenever I came back. So just having that time to get a feel for them and actually begin to use them now, it's been really cool to see how they've been changing and stuff like that.
Whether it's with the Golden Knights or college baseball around the entire nation, even the MLB, we've seen, Coach, so many changes when it comes to the pitching department. And Ryan, maybe you can speak to this too as someone who's currently in the game, but you were a hurler yourself in your time at Seton Hill. And I think the big question that I have for you, when you look at the college game as a head coach, pitching specifically, has there been a change? What has the evolution of a pitcher become? Now we see in the MLB, if you're not throwing 97, 98, you're probably not anywhere near the back end of the rotation at all. And what has that like been you as a head coach, seeing the evolution of pitching, and what does that look like? I'm just curious to see kind of what your thoughts are on.
Yeah, I would say maybe not to that extent, but we've seen that kind of trickle down into the college ranks as well. When I was playing about 15 years ago, your standard rotation arms were going to throw 84, 86 miles per hour. Now that's kind of jumped to like 88 to 90 with like the top end arms back then, maybe topping out in the low 90s. Now you got the top end guys maybe run it up 95, 96. So velo is definitely part of that. I think just the training to be able to throw harder has kind of trickled down from the pro ranks towards the younger levels, which definitely makes an impact. But I think probably the biggest thing that has affected pitching in the last couple of years is technology, just being able to track different things, whether it's statistics or different metrics of spin rate or spin direction, trying to create new pitches, different things like that just there's just more information available, more than just watching video or keeping some stats to try to figure out if a guy's good or not. There's a lot of different ways to kind of track different things and give direct feedback to guys to let them know if this pitch is good or not, or what we might need to adjust to try and kind of fill those gaps.
That was going to be a perfect transition because you mentioned analytics, and analytics is such a big part of any sport, but we see even in college baseball, and baseball specifically, the word is analytics that really defines this game. And I'll go to you with this, Ryan, because I think for me as a fan and so many who follow the Gannon student athletes in the Gannon baseball program, it's fascinating to see how technology has taken over the game. Do you draw a line? What is the line or the balance, maybe, if you will, between using analytics but also just trusting your stuff? Is there a balance that you have to come up with from a pitching standpoint?
I do think that there is. I think that stuff is really helpful, and we do a really good job of using that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're out there to get a job done for your team. And I think once you're on the field, none of that stuff matters. Off the field, it's extremely helpful to get you to know what you have and what you can use. But once you're out there, you have one singular job. It's to get the win for your team.
Is that something as a coaching staff, DJ, that you guys, I mean, clearly you're using technology as much as you can, but what's the balance like for you? Whether it's pitching, hitting, fielding, regardless, how do you balance that with, I guess I use the term blinders, right? The blinders of the analytics say this, but also letting your horse run the race. What's the balance for you guys as coaching staff?
Yeah, I think it's kind of trying to accumulate as much of the information as we can on our end, trying to digest as much of it as we can. And then as we spend so much time with our guys from the fall all the way through the season, it's kind of learning how they learn best, and just kind of figuring out like who can kind of receive certain information and utilize it and who can't. And maybe what information we can give different guys, whether it's video, stats, analytics, whatever it might be, just to make sure that we're not flooding guys with too much information and taking away from like what Ryan talked about with kind of clouding that ultimate goal. Like we just want guys to be able to go out and if they're pitchers, just throw strikes, get outs, help us win. So just trying to make sure that we keep the main thing and not try to do too much.
Let's talk about the rest of the season. It's difficult. I don't know how you keep all the information straight, but you somehow do. Let's talk the rest of the season. Ryan, I'll go to you first here. Because, Coach, I think we could do a soliloquy on how important this series is going to be for you. But you've got Seton Hill, a 9-inning game with DeUville. Then you have an opportunity to come back, play Lock Haven for Senior Day, and then you've got IUP. Still a lot of ground in front of you. You're looking for a chance to make a run at a spot in the PSAC tournament. How important is these last few weeks for this team and some of the keys you think will be for you guys as a pitching staff and as well as a team in particular to come away with a few big wins here?
I think it's extremely important. I think towards the end of the year, some things try to unravel, and I think it's really important that we stay together. It's just after a while you start to see things and maybe get down about it, but I think it's really important to just stay together and think about your common goal, and that's to obviously make it to the playoffs and go as far as we can. I just think that with the strength that this team has now, I don't think that there's anything that can happen to us that will throw us off that path.
How does the strength of the conference help this team throughout the year mature as well? Because that's going to be a factor too. I mean, you look just today, there are 3 teams in the PSAC that are ranked in the top 25. When you look at the strength of the conference, how can that help play into the maturation and building blocks that you guys have had so far this season?
It definitely does help a lot. As we go on, you can see just the guys, how it just seems like they understand it a lot better. And I'd say even before the PSAC season starts, we play a lot of tough teams, and I think that gets us set for anything that we face, really.
Coach, I'll go to you with this too, because whether it's your experience playing at Seton Hill in the PSAC, now coming here, being a chance to be the head coach at Gannon for the last few seasons, when you look at the challenge of what this conference can bring, and seemingly every year there's 3, 4, 5 teams in the top 25, what is the key? And I asked you what the key earlier is with weather in terms of managing your schedule. How do you manage, arms and the lineup and whatnot as you get through now the late part of the season where the grind really kicks in with this difficult PSAC slate?
Yeah, I think that really all starts back in the fall, all the way through our preseason, just trying to prepare as many guys as possible. Obviously, some of that is trying to have guys just compete for roles and opportunities, but it's also making sure that we're prepared with depth and things like that, just in case. You never know what might happen along the way, just to make sure that we have the tools to go into a long season and have the manpower to withstand that long season. But I think the weather definitely plays a part in that. The more we can stay on schedule with weekend games and kind of keep games spaced out allows like our starting pitchers obviously to kind of stay in a consistent rhythm of when they're throwing, how much they're throwing. As well as relievers and whatnot, to make sure that the arms are all stacked up, and then just kind of making sure that our position guys are able to recover in between games. And that's really a big shout out to our training staff as well. They do a phenomenal job. Sam especially does a great job with our guys, making sure that they have the time to get in there, get any kind of treatment they might need in between games to stay healthy, stay feeling good, and do the things that's necessary to perform their best when the weekends come around.
It's amazing when you get to this age, doubleheaders are just something that you're used to, but they're no joke. I'll tell you what, it's not easy to stay out on the field for nearly 5 hours for a span of a couple of days, and they do a great job here with the team. I'll end with you this for you, Coach. You've got Senior Day obviously coming up next week, but when you look at the Seton Hill series, some of the keys that you'll look for in terms of trying to come away with the series win here and keep ground in the PSAC West?
Yeah, obviously they're a really tough team. They've been towards the top of the conference for I don't know how many years in a row now. So it'll be a tough test for sure. But I think it really comes down to kind of the same things that we've touched on a little bit already, and the things that have allowed us to be in a lot of games this year is just kind of keep things simple, throw strikes, get routine outs, put balls in play consistently. And if we can do those things, throughout the 4-game set. I think we're going to give ourselves a chance in a lot of those games, and then it just comes out to closing out those games and making sure that we're finishing those games and staying confident throughout the whole series.
Nothing better than baseball when it's nice outside. Baseball when it rains, I don't know. Although I'll tell you what, the last time it rained, Ian Soto hit a walk-off home run. That's going to be in our Play of the Year nomination list as well. Stay tuned for that on Monday. But gentlemen, best of luck this weekend. Hopefully the weather holds off for you on Saturday, and excited to see what you guys do the rest of the way. Thanks again for joining us on the pod tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, DJ Cannon and Ryan Hood joining us, and they're going to take the dish of the day back so they can sample it at their table. Once again, it is the Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos, our dish of the day. As we have been talking about every single week, there's a new one at the UPick 6 Tap House. They got a great lineup and a great selection here. Their menu, every single item on it is wonderful. You can get the Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos for $2 off tonight through 10 o'clock at the UPick 6 Tap House. All right, let's continue on the show. It's time for What's on Tap for this weekend. Is the following. We got a couple of big weekend games coming up despite the Easter holiday break. Of course, campus is closed through the beginning of next week, but we've got a couple of other exciting events that will tide you over. Remember, just a key as we continue throughout this weekend, you're going to see a lot of away events, but remember, you can watch every single away Gannon athletic event live here at the UPick 6 Tap House on one of their many big flat screen TVs, so make sure to stay tuned for all those games and head down to the Tap House whenever there's an away event. On the road tomorrow, as we mentioned, baseball. Friday at Seton Hill, a big twin bill there tomorrow before they come home for what will be a weekend series at McConnell Family Stadium on Saturday, 1 and 3:30 p.m., the first pitch in both games of the doubleheader. Baseball against the Seton Hill Griffins. On Friday, softball continues their marathon stretch. We're going to talk to Natalia Malazzi and head coach Michelle Wiley in just a couple of minutes. They just split with Edinboro today. Did softball. They're also on the road at Seton Hill at 2 and 4 o'clock on Friday, and then 2 more road games as they travel to Cal for a twin bill on Saturday, 1 and 3 o'clock. That will be the conclusion of what is an 8-game in 4-day stretch for the Gannon Golden Knights. They have 8 games, I should say, in a week stretch for the Golden Knights. They have just been busy playing softball all week long, and we're here for it. Women's lacrosse takes back to the field on Saturday as well. They'll make the drive east to face Lock Haven. That's a noon start on Saturday afternoon. And then men's golf coming up this week at Whispering Woods Golf Club. It'll be the D2 Atlantic East Regional Preview. A lot of teams, a lot of student athletes, and great golfers will be at Whispering Woods starting at 9:30 a.m. on Monday. You can catch all the action at Whispering Woods Golf Club, and stay tuned to GannonSports.com for the live stats and results. That is, of course, a preview of what will be the D2 East Atlantic region, which is coming up in the early portion of May at Whispering Woods Golf Club. Want to put this on the docket as well. Acrobatics and tumbling. Congratulations to Brandy Duren's squad, who received an at-large bid for an individual event at the 2025 NCATA National Championships. The Golden Knights will participate in the synchronized toss event on Sunday, April 27th at the Elman Center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It'll be the second time the Golden Knights have been in the Elman Center, home of Augustana University. So that's coming up on Sunday the 27th. Want to put that on your radar as we roll along throughout the week. All right, in just a couple of minutes, Michelle Wiley and the softball crew will be joining us here on the podcast. Before we get to that, though, again, want to remind you that our Day of Giving live stream coming up on Friday, April 25th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Live guests, coaches, including DJ Cannon, so many student athletes as well. If the athletic programs hit their goal of money raised during Day of Giving, the coaches are going into the dunk tanks, folks. We'll also have our athletic director, Lisa Goddard-McGurk, on the podium for the dunk tank as well later in that day. We'll give you more details as we continue throughout our live stream coverage. And, of course, much more on our Day of Giving live stream, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., as we hear from more teams on the importance of what this day means for them.
This program has led a lot to me. I've met my best friends, and the program has been very successful over the years, and it's great to be a part of the success we've had.
It's incredibly important. We couldn't do any of this without them, and so having them behind us is always really important. Things like us going to California for tournaments or Florida, those kinds of things, all kind of depend on them. And when they help us out, we're really appreciative of that.
It's been really nice to come into college and have almost immediate friends and have this community and have these group of girls that really push me to be the best that I can be and to be a good person both in school and on the wrestling mat and in interpersonal relationships. Culture that has already been set on these mats and in this room has just made this experience and the energy in this room just so much better and so much more impactful.
Again, it's student athletes getting ready for our Centennial Celebrate Day of Giving. Again, all sorts of ways that you can donate on Day of Giving, and you can find all that information at gannon.edu. All right, as we roll along through our show, we're getting set to talk to softball with Michelle Wiley and Natalia Malazzi in just a moment. Also want to keep you updated on everything else going around in Gannon Athletics this weekend. Speaking of softball, congratulations to Emma Smerick, who in the game against Slippery Rock earlier this week set a program record for triples in a single season with 8. Smerick continuing her record-setting season as she has been great at the top of the lineup for Gannon. Speaking of single-season records, Emma Smerick actually sent another one today. Don't have the graphic for it in here, but with a steal in Game 1 against Edinburgh, Smerick now also holds the single-season records for stolen bases in a season. She got to the 30 mark in the game against Edinburgh earlier today. So smoke in the span of a couple of days. She set 2 program records in a single season. Congratulations to Emma Smerick. Well, softball, again, is busy. They just got done with a doubleheader with Edinburgh today. And earlier this week, we talked to head coach Michelle Wiley and student-athlete Natalia Malazzi as they get ready for a busy end of the season, folks. They're playing games seemingly every single day. Glad to spend a few minutes with them to catch up on what to expect for the rest of the year. At the time of the taping of this interview, softball's getting ready for 8 games in a few-day stretch. The season just continues to get busier and busier as we get ready for the latter part of the season. Head coach Michelle Wiley, first base Natalia Malazzi joining me here inside the field house. We actually get good weather for this week, knock on wood, so hopefully we get all the games in. But, Coach, let's start with this. As of this taping, you've won 8 of 9 games. This is a team that has really been on the right footing, especially given the offense and the resurgence of that. Take me through what you've really liked from your team in the last few weeks.
I think the resiliency, they work really hard in practice and everything as well. And so we've been really talking about what is our game plan, whether from a pitching perspective, hitting, fielding, and they've really ran with that, and they've done a really good job at practices. And I think that's why we're becoming more successful at the plate, too.
Maybe factor in the IEP win on Sunday, it's 9 of 10 now. I want to talk about the offense for a minute because, you know, for the last 2 seasons, it's been, okay, tad bit of a slow start, and then all of a sudden you get in the PSAC play, and it's like you turn on another switch. What has it taken to be able to get back to where you were at the end of last season offensively, whether it's you, whether it's Emma Smerick, and talk about in a second Destiny Garcia, all those players that are really hitting the ball well now?
Yeah, it's a lot of mental preparation. It's a lot of leaning on each other, asking what is the pitcher throwing, what can we do to adjust our game plan so we're end up more successful. We've been focusing a lot on a mental approach. We have the skills, we have the talent. It's just about how we apply that and how we take that into game time.
I'll tell you what, it's a grind of a season, right? And so, you know, you play what seems to be like 60 games. You're sitting here, you know, with almost 40 already in the can. Nat, when in your experience in playing, how do you try as a student athlete, because you've got the student part of it too, right? How do you try to balance out the entirety of the season? Because I feel like as a player, I would want to try to, you know, be great really quickly, but do you peak too early? All those questions. How have you learned to balance out the season and try to stay consistent throughout the whole year?
Yeah, softball is very challenging because it is a game of failure, and we just have to understand that you are going to fail more times than you succeed, but it's just important to have that mental resilience, as Coach Wiley said, and just focus on the next at-bat. Although, like, we can have success in the past, but it's always about the next at-bat and just focusing on what you're going to do to be better in your upcoming at-bats, but also leaning on your teammates and just having good support. This team is so close, and we really focus on that family aspect, and that's ultimately what makes us so successful.
Coach, when you look at, you know, this year has been a good year too, but you look at the success of the last few years for this team and what you were able to do last year in the regional and that experience that you had. You've talked to me off camera a lot about how this program has grown and now the expectations are different. They were here and now they're here. Take me through what that's been like for you in the last few years, really even since post-COVID when things kind of got back to normal.
Yeah, COVID was definitely a unique situation, and after that, we really strive for excellence. We never talk about perfection because it's really excellence we're looking for, and we're trying to get more depth, and I definitely think we have more depth this year than we have in the past, and with that comes challenging each other, right, and playing for different positions as well, and that's only going to make all of us better. So we're really trying to recruit better every single year. We have great players, and then they step up to the challenge, the ones that are here as well. So I couldn't be more proud of all of them, from our fifth years to our freshmen, because they do push each other to get better. But like Nat said, they support each other really well as part of it too.
You talked about that depth has been tested. You've had multiple underclassmen to the starting lineup. In fact, a couple that have just entered recently that are performing really well right now. When you look at the Sadie Carrolls, and as most recently the Destiny Garcia, who's seemingly sitting the cover off of literally everything, and I love the emotion with her too. She might be the best emotional student athlete that we have here on campus. How satisfying has it been to get to see them, well, first of all, getting to insert them into the lineup and know they can produce, but then also realizing that early in their career they seem like they have the knowledge that you've been able to give to them from the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts in the fall, right? So catching up to the speed of the game. When you're in high school, when you're in travel ball, college is just, it's faster, right? Nat's here fifth year, so she's been doing this for 5 years. So I think that's part of it for them in the fall, is to catch up to it. And then now, they stepped up to the challenge. I challenged both of them to, give me all that you got. And like you said, Destiny has great emotions. I love the energy that she brings, because that hypes everybody up, right? And so we talk all the time, like how one thing can lead to another, and even how, when you're batting, like one hit can lead to 2 hits, and then it just is a continuing factor, like going down the line and keeping that line moving. And just that one spark sometimes can make a huge difference.
I'm sure, Nat, it probably seems like yesterday that you started your freshman season campaign. How impressed have you been with some of the younger student athletes on this team and what they've been able to do? Because I'm sure, obviously it's easier said than done, but you're in a lineup of a team that's expected to contend for the top of the West, and you're performing so well. What has it taken from them, from your eyes, to be able to be so successful?
Yeah, it feels like just yesterday I was in their position, but it's so awesome to watch them be so successful and just carry such a good energy throughout our games. But also more recently, Destiny just celebrates like awesome. Exactly. But that type of energy just feeds us, and it makes us so excited for her. But it's just their resilience and their ability to come to practice every day, try to learn something new. They're always asking me, what can I do to be better? And I'm giving them advice about what I did as a freshman to ultimately be in the spot that I'm in now. But they're really good at listening to Coach Wiley, other players, as well as looking up to other people in their positions and seeing about what they can do to ultimately be better.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the end of the season and playoffs coming up in just a couple of minutes. But while we're on the topic of energy, I have to ask you a couple of questions, Nat, yes, as the resident leader in the clubhouse, seemingly. Number one, this team has a lot of energy on the bench, but you also have a lot of chants that you've perfected throughout, and I know that's a common practice in softball. How long does it take to learn these, and what is the key to picking the right one at the right time? I've always been curious.
Yeah, it's just on feel. Everyone kind of has their own cheer that they kind of go to, okay. And whenever people are up to bat, they have a few personal cheers that we like to type of focus on, but we have a favorite one, and we kind of do that mostly every inning, so that's really fun. And it's basically whatever cheer gets the most energy going, that's usually what we'll pick, and it's really, really exciting. But these cheers that I've learned, they were a thing when I was a freshman, so you kind of learn throughout your years, but the freshmen picked them up really, really fast. Within 2 weeks, they were pros. It was awesome.
There's a tradition to it, clearly. And the other thing, too, that I saw, we celebrated Senior Day just last Saturday in the doubleheader sweep against UPJ, the 5 seniors, and then seeing the success there. But you also introduced some stuffed animals into the fray, I saw. Can you take me through, because we were talking off camera, there is a team mascot, if you will, that's on the bench. What is that, and what is it with the excitement over the stuffed animals for this team?
Yeah, everyone on this team has their own stuffed animal. It seems like every time we go on away trips, we have all our stuffed animals on the bus, and they all travel with us. They're just a part of a team as everyone else. But the little rat that I had, that's Remy. Remy's our team mascot. I'm actually Remy's aunt. Me and Maddie are Remy's aunts, and Mia is Remy's mom. But Mia watched Ratatouille on the way down to Florida, and she just absolutely fell in love with the movie. So what did she do? She had to buy the wrap for $40 at the Disney store, and it was probably the best $40 she's ever spent in her life.
Yeah.
It was a investment that was needed for this team, and ever since Remy's has been coming to our games, we've just been winning. So Remy's coming to every single one of our games.
So that makes sense. You told me off camera that this was a $40 stuffed animal. I'm like, what on earth? Where did you buy it? Okay, so it was bought at
The Disney store.
Makes sense. Okay. Coach, this team has a lot of energy. There's a lot of excitement, obviously, with whether it's the in-game success, the bond that clearly they have now at the end of the season. For you as a head coach, what do you consider your job now? Because obviously you teach them at the beginning of the year, but now, I don't want to say it's on autopilot, but is it just a matter of trust and go from what they've learned this season?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we have a lot of leaders on this team, and, Bella's done a great job behind the plate. If we need to slow the infield down a little bit or the pitching down for hitting or whatever, she's gone out there, and Nat's done a great job too. So we have leaders on the team, and that's what we really look for because, they have a huge influence on each other, and we've kind of done our part and shared how we want the game played and, being aggressive at the plate and stuff like that. So we give them reminders, obviously, but for the most part, it's them taking over and showing us their leadership and what they can do.
Let's talk about the rest of the season. You've got a busy week this week, of course, 8 technical road games, although the games happening at the time of this podcast are going to be at home against Edinburgh, and then you have a couple more PSAC slates, and then you get ready for postseason. What's the key to success this time of year? Obviously, what you were able to do last year in PSAC and now looking ahead to try to make another regional, what's going to be the key down the stretch?
I think consistency is really important. Having strong pitching, having our strong defense. We're one of the top defensive teams in the PSAC as well, so our defense is 99% usually really good. And then being consistent at the plate is probably our key. So if we can be consistent, we always been talking about a game plan and zoning up, and if we can do that, I think we can have good success.
Not for you. This is a year I'm sure you'll cherish because of getting a chance to be back for another season and the experience that you've had. But this time of year, from a student-athlete perspective, what's the key to managing success and trying to continue it from what you've been able to do the last year or so?
Yeah, when it gets super busy and overwhelming, I just have to think about why I started and what brings me purpose and what fuels me and what makes me happy. And knowing that this is my last season, it just propels me to be the best person I can be, not only as a player, but as a teammate and as a leader. And I'm just super, super excited to be here. And I think that really shows in the way I play. But it's also getting my schoolwork done and getting ahead of the game and just making sure that all my assignments are done and my presentations are ready to go. But in the last couple of weeks, it's just cherishing these last couple moments that I have with these girls because this opportunity is just so special, and I'm really, really blessed to be here right now.
Softball continues to do great things as they push for the playoffs in the next couple of weeks. And again, one more chance to be able to see them coming up next week as we roll along throughout this second to final week, I should say, in the month of April. Couple more Thursdays before we finally get to May. And again, a reminder, softball is part of a plethora of spring sports teams that are playing this weekend. All away events, as softball is participating in, can be streamed live here at the UPick6 Tap House every single day that we have an away event. Softball Seton Hill on Friday on the road, at Cal on Saturday, women's lacrosse Saturday at Lock Haven, and men's golf Monday and Tuesday at the NCAA D2 Atlantic Region East preview at Whispering Woods. Of course, don't forget about baseball and acrobatics and tumbling. Baseball a home and home with Seton Hill tomorrow and Saturday. Acrobatics and tumbling will be at the event National Championships in the synchronized toss event on Sunday, April 27th. All right, we continue to roll along here through the United podcast, brought to you by UPick6. Of course, make sure to come down to the Tap House tonight, anytime between 6 and 10 o'clock to get our dish of the day, the Boom Boom Shrimp Tacos. They are delicious, my friends, no question about it. They're $2 off anywhere between 6 and 10 o'clock this evening. All right, let's get to it. Top 5 plays of the week. It's one of our favorite segments of the week. Let's see who made the top 5 this week. Alrighty, here we go, starting at number 5 in our top 5 plays of the week, and it is going to be what we just talked about, acrobatics and tumbling, off of a great season, punching their ticket to an individual event championship in the synchronized toss. They'll take to the Elman Center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Sunday, April 27th. Congratulations to acrobatics and tumbling for that mark and that opportunity to go to the national championships in individual event. At number 4, Gannon earlier this week in a big game against IUP. How about Abby Gurman? Little opposite field power for the senior. That's what we call an oppo taco in the game, and she puts on what is one of many costumes and stuffed animals, as you heard, softball team that they get a chance to cheer with. Gurman with that opposite field power. Big home run for her. Gannon, of course, that split with Edinboro today. They got a couple of more big games coming up this weekend, as we've already mentioned. Let's go to number 3, like home runs. How about this one? Take a look at how far Connor Smith hits this baseball in 3, 2, 1, power. Comes back with the plant foot and just completely demolishes it over the wall, gives the camera a little bit of a smile for good measure in Gannon's doubleheader against UPJ. One more look, Smith, just power in that bat, in that barrel, his eyes to the rock the whole time. And Gannon got that split against UPJ that actually split both doubleheaders home and home against the Mountain Cats. To number 2, we talked about this in our nighttime earlier this week on social media. How about competitive cheer and dance? What a showing for them at the NCAA and NDA National Championships in Daytona Beach, Florida earlier last week, claiming 3rd place in the team performance, game day performance, and hip-hop performance in Division II, a trio of 3rd place finishes for competitive cheer and dance. Congratulations on a wonderful season for Kelly Mikowski's squad. Here's number 1, Ella Todd. Oh, my goodness. Look at the shake and bake on number 1 in white. One more look, Ella Todd just making it look easy in the game against Lock Haven. First she gets by 1. Whoops, see you later. Here comes the second defender. No problem. Top cheddar for Todd. She had herself a big game against Lock Haven, as Gannon will head back to the road coming up this weekend in women's lacrosse. Those are your top 5 plays of the week here at the UPick 6 Tap House on this Thursday, April 17th. All right, we're getting close to closing out our show here tonight. Before we go, though, want to get to a couple of other announcements here in Gannon University Athletics as we roll along through the month of April. I want to congratulate our Chick-fil-A Student Athletes of the Week, Chloe Mateo from women's golf and Jake Boynar from the baseball team, recognized as our Gannon Student Athletes of the Week as they put up impressive performances in their respective sports each and every single day, in addition to their competitions from the previous week. Speaking of golf, I want to recognize Dee Dee Peterson, who had herself a wonderful performance as the PSAC Women's Golf Co-Athlete of the Week, taking home medalist placements in the last previous tournament for Gannon Women's Golf. She is going to lead that team into a big PSAC championship competition just a couple of weeks from now, and she'll actually join us on the podcast coming up next week to talk about that for women's golf. Peterson, the PSAC Women's Co-Athlete of the Week. Also want to mention, as well as we've been talking about, you can watch all of Gannon away events at the UPick 6 Tap House every single day on the corner of 4th and State here in downtown Erie, and there are lots of them happening this weekend, including softball, women's lacrosse, and baseball tomorrow that are all going to be playing away from home on what will be Easter weekend. And again, we wish you a happy Easter for those who celebrate and for all those who are spending time with friends and family on this Easter weekend. Good weather, at least to start it off, if you have tomorrow off and have a bit of a long weekend. All right, as we've been talking about as well, it's going to be Day of Giving coming up next week. And as we close the show in just a couple of minutes, we're going to give you some insight as to what we're doing in addition to the Day of Giving live stream on April 25th. But you can make sure to watch that live stream on our social media platforms and on YouTube, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday, April 25th. It'll have live guests, including coaches, student athletes, talking about the day and the excitement over Day of Giving. We've been talking about the dunk tank, folks. If a team reaches their goal of donations throughout the day, the head coach will be getting dunked. It's happening, folks, so make sure to support our student athletes in the way that they deserve to be supported. Some Gannon trivia as well, some fast facts, figures, and excitement all along the day. 12 hours of fun, and on Day of Giving, why not enjoy the day when we can talk about the collaboration between Gannon Athletics and the community at large. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, April 25th. A couple of teams also talking about the importance of Day of Giving and what it means to be able to help them on this great day, April 24th and April 30th?
The last 3 years here at Gano have been amazing for me. As being an international student, I also grew up as a person. I learned a lot about the culture here in the United States, and especially since I'm in the women's soccer team, my teammates have helped me a lot in the last 3 years. And I love the way that all my teammates try to support us, especially at practice.
For the past few years, our team has gotten continuously better with, breaking records, going further NCAA tournament, and we've been able to do that because of the community support, whether it's from the administration here at Gannon or the donors in the community, and just having our fans from around the community as well helping support us. It's helped us become even better and push us further as a team.
Gannon basketball is like a second family to me. Obviously, like when we're all away from home, this is our family. This is who we spend most time with.
You know, these girls are like 14 built-in sisters, and they teach me hard work, discipline, and yeah, like Bruce said, just good life lessons, things that we can take.
Especially being from Erie, I think the support means a lot. To see the community come out to our games and support us in every way that they do. We've had a lot of good crowds, especially in the Atlantic region. That was awesome to have.
When we play for ourselves, we're also playing for our community, so every time they come out and support us, it makes us want to work harder so we can make them proud.
Day of Giving, as we've mentioned, April 24th, starting at 8 p.m. and running through 8 p.m. on April 25th. All right, well, that's going to do it for us today here on what's already our 8th United podcast of our inaugural podcast season. But tomorrow, or I should say next week, it feels like tomorrow already. Tomorrow is Friday after all. Next week, we'll have our normal podcast, but more as well. We've been talking about the live stream, how on April 25th we'll be broadcasting from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But next week on our United podcast, regularly scheduled time, we're going to be doubling our episode, folks. Here is the show rundown for next week at the UPick 6 Tap House. You might note the time change. We are not going from 6 to 7. We are going from 6 to 8 p.m., a 2-hour show that's going to be backloaded with lots of Day of Giving excitement and Day of Giving content. So we're going to go right up until Day of Giving begins, take a 12-hour break, then be back with you in the morning for Day of Giving content. So many guests coming up next week in our 6 to 7 hour. We'll have student athletes joining us from women's golf ahead of the PSAC tournament. Women's water polo will join us ahead of their postseason action coming up next week. And we'll also hear from members of the acrobatics and tumbling synchronized toss team who are getting ready to head to the Elman Center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, for what will be the NCATA Individual Event National Championships. That is only until 7 o'clock. We've got an hour of that, and then an hour afterwards of all Day of Giving talk, the excitement around it, how you can get involved, ways that will, of course, in addition to the broadcast, be promoting Day of Giving. And we'll also hear from some individuals who are alumni of athletic programs at Gannon University, how they have contributed in Days of Giving of the past, how they'll continue to contribute again, and a couple of great stories as to what Gannon Athletics meant for so many of our former student athletes. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss that hour. So when it gets to 7 o'clock, keep your eyes on the screen. It's going to be a fun hour of stories, camaraderie, and why Day of Giving is so important to the student athletes current and the student athletes of old. Because again, when you're Gannon, you are always family. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Make sure, again, as always, to stay tuned to our social media channels for all the creative and exciting content surrounding Gannon Athletics. And make sure to head to our website, www.gannonsports.com, for all the latest news and information surrounding Gannon Athletics as we hit the Easter weekend. From our Gannon family to yours, have a wonderful, safe, and happy Easter. We can't wait to see you all back next week for a 2-hour show on the United Podcast. As always, we leave you tonight with the week that was. Take care.